Welcome back to Brennan's breakdowns of the new Star Wars novel Supernatural Encounters. We've made it to Chapter 2 of this colossal masterpiece. On today's episode, we will be continuing through Book 1, The Trial. This chapter is called Prelude and Contention, and continues the Historical Council's debate where it left off in Chapter 1. Chapter 2, Prelude and Contention, spans pages 28 to 30, and before we jump into the precise connection, Easter egg, and reference analysis, here's a brief summary of the chapter. But first, a spoiler warning for Supernatural Encounters that I feel obligated to mention every episode. You have been warned. In Chapter 2, the Historical Council continues to debate about the authenticity of both Arhul Hextrafon's character and his manuscript. Additionally, they begin to read the in-universe text to Arhul's Supernatural Encounters, with a poet named Harry Saldana orally reading the manuscript to the Historical Council, on record for the first time. The debate ultimately and inevitably spirals into angered yelling once more, as the last Chapter 2 had ended in uproar, and Q9X7, on Voron's command, joins the fray for the first time. With the brief Cliff Notes plot summary completed, let's delve into some analysis for Supernatural Encounters, Chapter 2, Prelude and Contention. We start off the chapter with Voron Na'al ending the needless, tumultuous quarreling with a calm and timely statement that aims to undercut the Council's worries that they will be discredited and dishonored if they were to release Arhul's document to the public. And our first reference comes from the response to Na'al's comments. The character Tem Ellis mentions the severity of the disagreement and the importance of the issue that cannot be understated. Tem Ellis first appeared in the short story An Extinct Guest by Trevor J. Wilson and Craig Robert Carey from Adventure Journal number 14. Tem was characterized there as being an easygoing, amiable scholar of immense intelligence, and he appeared throughout the EU in a lot of source material, such as Galaxy Guide 12, Aliens, Enemies, and Allies, The Essential Guide to Alien Species, Geonosis and the Outer Rim Worlds, The Complete Star Wars Encyclopedia, and in Joe Bongiorno's short story in Galaxy Magazine, which we'll talk about more shortly. Supernatural Encounters' next reference comes in the form of mentioning Tem Ellis' species, the Era, which are cephalopods that first appeared in Galaxy Guide number 4, Alien Races. The Era also appeared in the video game Star Wars Rebellion. As with a lot of these historians and scholars that are on the Historical Council and Supernatural Encounters, author Joe Bongiorno takes the time to list some of their credentials. And with Tem Ellis, it mentions his important extensive work on the University of Sandberg Guide to Intelligent Life. The University of Sandberg Guide to Intelligent Life is a book about alien species written in universe by Tem Ellis. This is yet another reference to the already mentioned An Extinct Guest short story. But author Joe Bongiorno has some experience with this concept, as he co-authored one of a number of articles in a regular series that appeared in the Gamer magazine. His article, The University of Sandberg Guide to Intelligent Life, the Marvel series, which he wrote with Rich Handley, was published in Galaxy Magazine number 1 in 2000, and featured Tem Ellis. As a huge fan of the Sandberg Guide to Intelligent Life, it's always so cool to see it come up within the EU, so I was excited to see it mentioned here, with the information given on Tem Ellis' background. Midway through page 28, we get our next reference, after Tem's impassioned and intelligent comments. Voron Na'al reflects on the precarious times that they are currently in with the current galactic government. This line of thinking leads to the reference to the current Chief of State Cal Omis. Cal Omis appeared for the first time in R.A. Salvatore's The New Jedi Order, Vector Prime, and he would go on to appear throughout New Jedi Order, the Dark Nest trilogy, and Legacy of the Force. Cal Omis was the final Chief of State for the New Republic, and the first Chief of State for the Galactic Alliance. After the reference to Chief of State Cal Omis, we get a very interesting monologue by Tem Ellis about how journalists face persecution during the Empire's reign, which sadly echoes our own world's tragic treatment of journalists over our history. Ellis's statements are responded to by a very familiar character, making her triumphant first appearance here. It's so cool that Leia Organa Solo appears here, sitting in on the Historical Council. Every single one of her comments and interjections is graceful, and Joe has written her with so much respect and grace. I found myself clinging to every sentence she uttered, as she is written in such an effortlessly charismatic manner. Definitely a standout moment whenever she enters the debate fray, as seen here. Leia's first comments include her calling for the manuscript to be read aloud, prompting a smirk from Janzakek and approval from Mungo Baobab and Mammon Hool. This leads to the manuscript being read aloud by a character named Harry Saldana. The character Harry Saldana is, as you may have come to expect with supernatural encounters, an obscure character from the expanded universe. Harry Saldana originally comes from the illustrated Star Wars universe by Kevin J. Anderson. In that book, an accompanying art piece was given for her character. What's interesting about this art is that it originally wasn't intended to be a new character, but concept art for Return of the Jedi depicting Leia. This Leia concept art was first featured in a book, The Art of Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. This art was repurposed to be a depiction of Alderaanian poet Harry Saldana in the Illustrated Guide to the Star Wars Universe. Supernatural Encounters next makes reference to Harry Saldana's boyfriend, a character named Sultan Wastakian. Sultan's first appearance was featured in the French role-player magazine Cassius Belli issue number 103, in an article called Prelude et un Nouvel Espoir, which translates roughly to Prelude to a New Hope. The Star Wars article in that magazine featured an appearance from the pre-established Harry Saldana, but added her boyfriend Sultan Wastakian to the lore. Extremely interesting stuff, and really deep cut. I always love these foreign RPG references. Harry has been selected to read the manuscript, something she considers a great honor, as Supernatural Encounters states that she greatly admired Arhul's works, and likewise, Arhul is said to have mutually respected her. This leads to the first reading of Arhul's in-universe book itself, which begins with an introduction of sorts, where it sets the time period in place. It mentions that Arhul has retired from being Master Historian at this point, as he wishes to seek knowledge without it having to be mandated via government funding. And with this mention of the government, we get yet another Mon Mothma name drop, someone who we already know was a dear friend to Arhul based on the prologue. Arhul's reasoning for his journey into inevitably madness is outlined here, as it starts as a quest to know more about alien races in the pre-Republic era, and the races that subsequently died out long ago, as well as where intelligent life comes from originally. He seeks to uncover the truth and untangle the myths, wherever that truth and wherever those myths will lead him. The manuscript reading is cut off right as Arhul starts to talk about what he at this point in time regards as religious extremism, which is in regard to creation accounts from ancient aliens across the galaxy, which Arhul views at this early point in his journey as nothing more than fanciful myths. The reading is cut off by Tem Ellis, who mentions an important piece of information. In his interruption, it is revealed that Arhul's other work, Cult Encounters, excerpts from the last days of Arhul Hextraphon, was the document which they read on the first day of debate at the Historical Council. We already knew that this is the second day of debate, which I originally thought was just a weird detail, but it actually had a purpose in being set here, as it gives room for some light to have been shown on Cult Encounters. Out of universe, Cult Encounters was written by Joe Bongiorno and Richard Handley, and was published in 2017, 6 years before the final version of its much larger companion piece, Supernatural Encounters. They're collectively referred to as the Encounters duology by Joe Bongiorno. For those who want to know more about Cult Encounters, you can read it on StarWarsTimeline.net, and it is even included in the back of the Supernatural Encounters PDF, as well as being in the SE physical copies. And yes, I do plan on covering a breakdown for Cult Encounters once we get to the end of Supernatural Encounters in a few years. I think it's really cool to know that the Historical Council spent some time on Cult Encounters, in addition to Supernatural Encounters, giving it a whole day. A very nice detail. In response to Tem Ellis, Janzakek pipes up and calls Supernatural Encounters the uncanny adventures of Arhul Hextraphon. This line cracked me up, but it also sent my mind straight to the incredible comic book series The Uncanny X-Men, which may not have been a directly intended reference, but it's certainly where my mind went upon hearing Janzikek's wisecrack. The wisecrack leads to furious anger from the pro-Hextraphon side of the room, including Mungo Baobab and two new character references, with the xenoarchaeologist Corellia, aka Henrietta Antilles, who first appeared in the Gree Enclave short story from Adventure Journal number 8 by Timothy S. O'Brien, and archaeologist Femme Noir, who first appeared in the original Marvel Star Wars comic issue number 84 by Roy Richardson, rushing to defend Hextraphon. Femme Noir even calls Janzikek a pompous dinosaur, which is a hilarious little detail that I love. The word dinosaur is additionally an EU reference, though, as dinosaurs have shown up in various media throughout the EU, first being mentioned all the way back in 1976 in Alan Dean Foster's A New Hope novelization. Next, the Velmok Hanapen splutters back into the fray, at the same time as a character named Hassan Grafwell making comments. Hassan Grafwell is seemingly a new character, but he may be connected to the Graf family of historians that were featured in Adventures in Wildspace. The next reference is to another character who joins the collective babbling. The character is named Ualp Zathan, and first appeared in issue 84 of the original Marvel comic series. Ualp Zathan's species wasn't revealed in that comic. He was simply, visually, an unidentified reptilian. In a genius connection, Supernatural Encounters references the reptilian Gektul species that first appeared in the LA Times comic strip Bring Me the Children by Don Christensen. This is brilliant here, as Supernatural Encounters establishes that Dr. Ualp Zathan is indeed a member of the Gektul species. I love how neat, simple tie-ins like this are. Elegant stuff, if you ask me. Another reference occurs directly after this, when it makes mention of Dr. Enki Pace, who first appeared in the New Jedi Order, Dark Tide 1 Onslaught by Michael Stackpole, and archaeologist Garv Debble, who first appeared in the Erasing All Traces short story in the Last Command sourcebook by Eric Trotman, as well as having later appeared in Spectre of the Past by Timothy Zahn. Both of these characters are desperately attempting to calm everyone down. Their attempts are in vain, though, as members of the Abroan Institute make a return from Chapter 1 by injecting some hilariously negative puns into the fray. They call out in a mad chant that their opponents in the debate are hextremists and hexorcists, which is a very amusing yet disrespectful play on words. Details like this make me adore this section of the work. It just feels so well polished with stuff like that. So lived in. Brilliant. This leads us to Mick Bidler, who is seen laughing amongst the chaos. This character was mentioned earlier in the Supernatural Encounters introduction, but he appears here in the Historical Council chambers for the first time. Mick Bidler is a Tuckerization of EU writer and editor Mike Bidler, whose character Mick Bidler first appeared in the Han Solo trilogy Rebel Dawn by A.C. Crispin. To silence the chaos, Voron Na'al calls up the amazing sidekick of Arhul Hextraphon to the plate, as Q9X7, mentioned earlier in the book, makes his first physical appearance in the Historical Council chambers, and it is revealed that his other name is Master Menemom. Master Menemom was already hinted to be a companion computer intelligence to the Great Mistress Menemos, a character who repeatedly was mentioned earlier in Supernatural Encounters. This is a really neat touch. It mentions that Q9 has served as an errand boy essentially for supercomputer mistress Menemos, going to various planets for her, including Fusei, which is a reference to another LA Times comic strip, one called The Gambler's World, where the planet Fusei first appeared. As Q9X7 prepares to be a hero, this is where the chapter ends. This was yet another terrific chapter, with so much good lore, packed tightly into these 3 pages. Let me know in the comments if I missed any references, and I'll see you all next time, when we resume our breakdowns of Supernatural Encounters with Chapter 3, Innocence and Wrath. But before I leave you all today, I have 2 brief news bulletins. For one, I just want to show off this absolutely sick Supernatural Encounters tattoo that editor Kyle Rawlings just got. Looks absolutely amazing, taken straight from Chris Cold's art, and I was wowed when I saw the photos he shared. Absolutely awesome, and not yet finished. I can't wait to see the final product. In addition to that, something extremely exciting has occurred. Author Joe Bongiorno has very generously included YouTube links to this very series of videos on his website, StarWarsTimeline.net. He's posted the links to the previous episodes of the series, along with links to so many other awesome Supernatural Encounters videos from other creators, on a specific Supernatural Encounters Media and Analysis tab on the Supernatural Encounters section of the website. What an honor! I absolutely cannot believe it to see the videos with the titles up there. How cool. What a kind move from author Joe Bongiorno to put these up there. I still can't believe it. To see these up there is just so crazy. With the breakdown over and the brief news blurb out of the way, I'm gonna get out of here now and start on my script for Chapter 3's breakdown. See you guys then.